let me jump right in. The reason why we're here is that for many years, the question basically, what is currently happening on a political level in my canton or in my city on a given topic, for example, sustainability, it's just not possible to answer it. And that's a huge issue for civil society organizations. It's also an issue for academics, for academia, but also for citizens. So if I want to just, I want to be an informed citizen, I want to know what's up in, I don't know, in the city of Winterthur or in the canton of Zurich or on a federal level, that's very hard, and it's just connected to needing a lot of resources in the sense, either money or just to, or a lot of time in that sense. The reason why is this. So you see here a little overview of some of the cantonal parliamentary data. And what you see here is that this is not harmonized, right? So there's many different structures, there's many different qualities of data. Some cantons or on a federal level, there's an API, some barely have a website. So what we want to do as openparldata.ch, together with many contributors, so we see ourselves more as an umbrella than the one doing it. It's really supposed to be a collective effort, so to say. And what we want to do is really to collaboratively build this open API to access the data, but also an open standard to really harmonize this data on the long run. Yes, and that's why I really want to welcome you to this kickoff of the Open Parliament Data Project. Very happy to see so many of you here. Together with me here is Christian, who's one of the main contributors, or who's going to be one of the main contributors to this project. So very happy to have him here with us. He's going to lead you through the technical process and what's happening. Yes. So basically, we have two, I would say, big blocks today. The first one is again us kind of like giving you an input and an overview of the project, what's going to happen, what are we doing, when, how, etc. But then we really want to hear from you, and that's also the bigger part of today. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your requirements, like what do you want to do with this data? How do you need it? What kind of questions do you have? What do you think could go wrong in this project? And maybe also, how do you want to contribute to the project itself? At this point, we also want to give a big thanks to the Mercator Stiftung, who's supporting this project. And without them, we wouldn't be here today, probably. And with this, I would very much like to hand over to Christian to give you a little overview of the project.
Okay, thank you, Florian. Should I share my screen, or would you like to?
I can continue sharing my screen. That's
okay.
You just let me know when I should click.
Yeah, welcome also from my part. I'm Christian. I work at Glue Software Engineering, where we had the product Polit Monitor, and we are now really excited to work on this project, which we had thoughts about since quite a long time. And now you see the project we are going to do in the next year in this diagram. I think this sums up what we are going to do, and I will show you the parts of that now. So you see in the middle part, I would say more the technical things, what we are going to do have done in a year. To me, that's quite clear what we are going to do. And then there are this kind of 4 and 5, the governance and harmonization, standardization, which probably will take longer time than a year. And it's probably not so clear in which focus we are going there right now. Regarding the import of the data, maybe can get we from Polit Monitor have really established since many years some routines and work in this area, and we will donate the import scripts, the source code entirely to this project. And while doing so, we will not making it open source, but of course making it better, more robust. That's the idea. And the idea is actually to take the crawlers and the scrapers we have for all cantons, for 45 cities, for the national level, and take these imports so that we can get data in a pool, or in this case, first in a stage where we just simply collect the data in a uniform manner. As you know, as Florian told, not all, well, there are some cantons, it's becoming more and more, start provide the data in open government data, or in a format which is more easy to use, and we will still use both. So if data is available as open government data, we will of course use those files. If not, then we will use the scraping and crawling mechanism to get that. How we do that? Next slide, please. We will use Apache Hub, which is an open source tool to gather data. Actually, it's, as you see it, it's really this kind of clicking together a workflow. So actually, if you're not familiar with that and you like to do something like that, I really can recommend it. It's you can do this stuff. So here, for example, we have a workflow which is for the canton of Bern, where you can see a little bit what kind of information we get. So there are ideas really to get for each canton, for each parliament, to have individual workflow, which we can really define what we want to import and really consider the data situation which is there from the canton. Next step. Next slide. Here, for example, then how do we import agendas into the stage? So it's simple, like we have a JSON file, we compare these things with data from the database and other files provided, and then store it in the database. So yeah, this is what we do with the data import. Next slide. What we are going to collect is actually many entities. I would say in Politmonitor we have started with the affairs. So I guess that's the most significant one. And then we see at the bottom like new stuff like meeting, also votes. And I would say with the right side, we will probably not have all the things at the beginning. I think we really focus on the affair, the documents, the persons, and maybe votes is something we have partially for some cantons, but probably have not for all. We have meeting, we try to get all of that. And when it's about speeches, we also have to be assured, or it's the situation that not all cantons provide this information in a structured way. So we'll go with an effort. It's the best effort to get the data as it is. If it's easy available, we go for that. If it's very complicated, we probably leave it out for the moment in this project right now. I mean, that's also something what we see with when cantons provide open government data. They often focus on what is easy available, and when it's too difficult to get the data, then of course this is also then not available. So we somehow represent the situation, what is available there. Maybe next point. This was also discussion in the story or the time leading to this project, that actually we want to provide authentic data somehow. So you can, it's not something we have, manipulated or altered. And I think this is next slide, please, or click. I think this is an expectation or job which is still valid. But from the practical side, we also have to be aware that at some point we wouldn't be able, next slide, we wouldn't be able to provide a good product if we do not make or have an own logic how to import stuff. And I will tell you, or in some examples, what we are going to do there and how I mean that. So next slide. So here, for example, we have an affair from Aargau, and yeah, authentic would mean that we would use the title as it's in here. And in this case, we will get this title and we will store it in a field which is called title long. But we also will do here what is not yet available in the database of the affairs. So we will really try to extract the authors or the contributors here and link that to their entry in the person database. Also then shorten the title so that we have here now Anpassung Gemeindegesetz. So at some point we will have to do this kind of interpretation of the data, even though we have the aspiration to make it authentic. Next slide. There are many cases where we have to do such things, like for example here from Valais, when you see here as well, they have I would say quite a strange notion how to make titles. So you have for each session you have different kind of string, and here also our attempt would be to really extract the title and put that in one field. Next example, here also we see in Canton Vaud, they have quite a different system. So they have no page for one affair, but instead they really have the system where the meeting is the relevant structuring point. So for one object, they have several affairs. So we have decided in our data model that we will use, we have one affair, and this kind of meetings are then two events. And there we also have to make a decision, okay, when we have a field affair URL, which one we will use. In this case, we probably will use the latest one, because when you click on that, you will get to the latest one. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. We have to make some kind of interpretation to make it usable, even though maybe, I don't know, they have a database in the background where they have some kind of an object ID for each affair. I'm not aware, haven't been in contact with people there. This is something we're going to try in the long term, but for the short term, we have to make interpretation on the data. Next slide. Also, there's some kind of stuff we can work on. For example, here, there's one from the National Parliament, where, somehow politicians have submitted the same affair 3 times. Actually, it's totally identical. There's no, as I heard it, there's no influence that this has more weight, but somehow the parliamentary service have decided to go on with that. And then you have this kind of duplicates in the systems, and they then, when they treat that, they put those together and say, okay, this is the same as answered in that. Here, that wouldn't be a problem because we have different affair numbers. So this we would put to the output. But then, as always, when you then see the data and there are duplicates, okay, this is as is, right? Next slide. And then at some point, we also see, it's here from the city of Olten, they have this kind of, they somehow misuse their system in a way that for each decision, they create a new technical affair, and they don't use any affair numbers. So here, we also have to decide, okay, should we in the project really provide this kind of 2 affairs? I think it wouldn't really serve the purpose, because you want the idea of one affair has one entity. So we probably also would merge that, even though you can say it's not the original data as is, but somehow, yeah, that's the world that is. Next slide. And then there are those things like in Canton Bern. Actually, we have been in touch with them. Somebody's also here from them saying actually something very trivial, I think, but is an affair closed or ongoing. And from the data now on the website, but also in the draft they have provided for open data, which is coming along. There's no field which we can say it's closed or ongoing. It's just the information you have here. You see the last event. And this is now also a question about, will we decide about, well, we see here somehow there is a Antrag Regierungsrat Ablehnung, there is something verschoben. Does this mean it's closed now? Probably it is. But well, this is a little bit the question, will we decide here that it's closed or will we make a mapping? Probably in this case, we will just leave it open, but on the other hand, then you see on the data, it's not clear. So yeah, this is what the challenge we have in the short term. Hopefully, maybe in this case, they can still add the closed or ongoing field. Next slide.
Yeah, Nicole just wrote in the chat the date will be integrated. So
Perfect.
good on that.
Perfect. Another thing is also like we have, especially for consultations, this is really hard from the data technical side if we have affairs where there is no ID, right? We just have a title, and then especially for consultations, they move because this is just a CMS, right? So they put this thing on the page. There is no ID. We just have the title. And then now it's on the current consultation, and then later they move it on another page, and this makes it very, very difficult to then match the thing to see about, is it the new one, is it the same, how to go on. And here in our system we will create an artificial ID for that, maybe as a checksum from the title and so on, which is probably not what you see. It's not authentic, but somehow we have to cope with that in the short term. Yeah, next slide. So we try to have a pragmatic approach here. So we will use this kind of techniques where we try to make the data usable, like IDs or manual mappings in some cases. We try to extract data. We try to fuzzy search. Is it the same? I mean, also when you like to link people with affairs or votes, the data is not there structured in a way, and so we have to do something. This may introduce a small risk of errors because it's just a probability value sometimes, or it's a rule which works for most times, but not for all the time. We try to minimize that, but to make it usable, we have to go in that direction. But in the long term, we try to provide the Parliament's feedback on the recognized problems. So what we have seen, like for example, the binary status in Bern or the identifiers in Glarus. And sometimes it's a little bit our hope, there are stuff they can easily solve. In Canton Schwyz, for example, there was the question also with consultation, where is the end date of the consultation, and we just ask and they put that on the website. So sometimes it probably can be fixed easily. I guess in some cases it will be more difficult, and the idea is there to move on and move the discussions about those issues in the track with creating a standard which is aiming really for long-term change in that direction. Yeah, next slide. So when we have this kind of data in the data pool, we will create a REST API on that, where we provide data, make it available. We don't know yet what kind of technology we would use. We have just said yet it will be REST and it will be JSON output for a start. And you can a little bit imagine how it looked like by the example here. Next point, next slide. And then, because, yeah, just having an API will work for those who will use data, but it's not so, you know, tangible. It's not what data we have. So we would like to have a minimal graphical user interface, which can be like that. It's simple a mock-up. It's not yet decided how we're going to do that in particular, but where we will use Angular. And actually, the idea is really to make this graphical user face really on top of the REST API. So we would like to make really the REST API as such powerful that it can provide such a GUI without really accessing the database as such. So we don't have make a graphical user face on top of a database, but just using the REST API. And this then should serve as a showcase for the data and also the API, so you can see when I want to have the data about politicians, how should I make the query? So you will get the same query, or you will get the same data as shown here in this graphical user face. The date, actually, it's just read-only, so it's just using the REST API, and there are no personalized functions. You cannot subscribe to anything. It's just providing a showcase about the data. Okay, that's a technical thing. Now, next slide. We're getting to this kind of standard, and as said, next slide. This is somehow which very likely will go on for longer than a year. I think we can have a year's time, and we have resources to make the technical thing work, which I just described. But this process about standardization will likely go on for longer than a year. We haven't sorted out all the issues in 1 year. Realistically, probably 5 years and more. That's my guess. So next slide. What's going on there is that actually there was already an attempt to get money from the Digitale Verwaltung Schweiz, and they refused that in the sense of interesting project, but it's not the right place to be funded. And they moved on the request or the idea forward to the Federal Statistics Office, where with the people from the Open Government Data Office and the team E14Y. And we had now a meeting last time, or it's already 2, and have a next meeting, and where we have had discussion about how to go on in that matter. It's not so clear what we are going to do there. It's still about exchanging information, what wants to do that. But I felt last time at least that there's an interest to do something here and hopefully do it in common. And this is one part and we're going to do there, that continue this kind of exchange and hopefully get people involved in that from the official side. And another thing is the exchange with ETH. We had the first meeting in June, which I think from both sides was quite, we were very enthusiastic about this idea to go on with like really making an ETH standard for parliamentary data. And the next step here, this is still pending on our side, is a submission of an application for a specialist group, Fachgruppenantrag. And here I would like to hand over the word to Dennis, which is here today, so he can a little bit explain about ETH, what this means, and his view on this project.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Hi, everybody. Sorry, my English is not the best one. I, s- I speak French and German, and I try to speak a bit English. Yes, I'm here as Alliance Manager for ETH. I am responsible to collect, to be in contact with potential partners, to also to help a specialist group to with contact with members of the group. Uh, I think you know well what ETH is. I can give some words about ETH. This is an association. This is well known in e-government. The association is doing standardization for DVS from federal, DVS, what? Digitale Verwaltung Schweiz. I don't know what is the name in English. And we have a lot of standards that are running productive in different domains. One domain is citizen data that is exchanged between municipalities, cantons, and confederation, for example, but there is also a lot of standards. And the approach is here that with a specialty group, you can do the standards, define the standard in a domain that is known, that is well known also from the cantons, from the different stakeholders of the projects, and it gives also recognition of the standards you are doing. One thing is also important, it could help also the project for some works, for example, translation are done from the association, also paid from the association. There is also some benefits. How a special group is working, it is based on it's a bottom up. It means in the group there is normally different stakeholders from IT providers, also from cantons, from municipalities, or from confederation. It means that we have exactly the setup that is necessary to have a standard that is help the business side, but also that can be implemented from the IT providers. And there is a recognition process within the association. You publish the standard, it's usable, it's open, you don't have to pay for that, it's open for all. And I think it's a good way to make the standard recognized standard in Switzerland. Voilà. That's very short with my poor English, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you,
good.
Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
I give you back, Christian. And if there is some questions, I stay here in call.
Thanks. Yeah, the idea is actually to make this application, and if anyone is interested, or we hope anyone is interested going on with that, is totally invited to contribute there. I mean, we have a little bit of special position here because we are not a vendor, so we will try to contact them, those who are selling this kind of systems to the parliaments, hopefully get them on board. But we are now here, we have a year time to make something happen. And so we will try to get them on board, and hopefully those who are interested in a standard, we go on. I mean, we cannot really force parliaments to use a standard if there is no interest at all. But of course, and that's also the main goal of all the thing, it would totally help us if we get data in a more standard way as it is now, as just shown by the examples. Okay, next slide. Then the next part, which probably is the hardest one in saying in the long term, it's well, how we have now money for a year to do this project by the Mercator Foundation. but what's next? So one part of the project is as well to find the business model that ensures sustainability of the project funding, and also to find a governance that is really open. Actually, this is important, and it's a bit tricky. How do we get there? This is something we would like to work on in the project. I see here, I've listed this one. There is because I'm coming from the scholarly infrastructure community, and there are several projects which have but doing some same stuff like Crossref, which lists all the metadata for all scholarly publications. And there are some kind of inspiration, like having this open, but also the need to you need some money to continue the service and so on. And this is what we have to work on. Florin, did you want to?
No, thank you, Christian.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think so. That's really, again, to reiterate what Christian said. So this is really what we want to find out together, right? So it's an essential part of the project is to kind of also figure out, okay, how can this be run sustainably? How does this have to be? How can this be governed democratically? I think those are like two of the main questions. And again, also just to reiterate, we go at this problem of like parliamentary data or data on political affairs not being available with kind of like two approaches. Like one is this really, I would say, more like short-term approach. In this 1 year, we are trying to make the data, as much of the data available as soon as possible. So users, in that sense, like civil society organizations, but also other parliamentarians, scientists, etc., can work with this data as soon as possible. They can iterate, they can get feedback on it. But then on the other hand, we also want to, again, tackle this long term and solve it, solve it at the core, so to say. And that's really what the whole track of harmonization, standardization is for. So basically, the goal is there to be able to then at some point switch off one scraper or crawler after another, right? So because one parliament, if they get like a new Ratsinformationssystem, they will then adhere to the standard that is existing. Yes, I'll give back to you, Christian.
So maybe more project internally. We will start right now with the crawlers. So we will take this data really and make it open source. It's already we have a GitLab repository. It's already on there, and this is probably something which will be have lead time until January. On the same time, we can go on with this kind of standard thing, and also then with the governance business model. And when we have this kind of data in there, we can start with the REST API. And when we have that with the graphical user face, so you will probably see quite late in the project, or late. I mean, it's here. You will see the data as in the graphical user face. Next slide. Here you see the people in the core project, Florin and Christian. You have been aware. With me, there's also Igor, my boss here at Glue, and my colleague Christian, which is also here in the chat. He will do the front end, and voluntarily there is help from Reto Schneider, which will help us with system engineering, really on a voluntary participation, which is really great in this case. Next one. And that's a little bit the idea of today's meeting, hopefully with you as a community. I guess we had some talks with some of you before these kind of meetings, and I hope we can continue that. And actually, if you have something, really feel free to chat with us and contribute.
Yes, so the idea is really to tackle this collaboratively. We want to, as said in the very beginning, work openly. So all the meeting notes, also this call, it's all going to end up on this GitLab repository. I just posted the link. So it's really, there to kind of encourage participation. Obviously, there's going to be different ways to contribute. We're going to go at that in a second. But I think it's really, if you have questions, if you have inputs, please always feel free to approach us. Yes, and for that, I would like to, we have 20 minutes almost, or a bit more even, to kind of get your first round of feedbacks and inputs. For that, I would like you to enter the Miro board. I'm going to share it in a second. Or Christian, if you could, that would actually be make it easier for me, I think.
Yeah, a second.
Going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Exact. So I posted it. No, I posted it already.
Sorry.
No, it's just about sharing your screen with the Miro board. That's yeah. Or I can also do it.
No, let me try.
Cool, amazing. I see you're already there. So the first question would really be to hear your general feedback, your inputs. What do you like about this project? The top left. What do you wish? Like, what's maybe constructive or critical feedback you already have, or just something? Hey, I wish you'd also consider this and that. Also, maybe something that's not clear at this point. You obviously don't have all the information yet, but just from the information you're hearing now, what's not clear? Please feel free to just drop everything. Also, the things you think should be clear, or maybe you're afraid of asking, please don't, just shoot. And also, if you have ideas, if you think, hey, this would be really, please talk to this person, please include this person, please, feel free to drop it there. We'll give you maybe 2 minutes to add your post-its. And then we would move on to the next questions. Also, if you have something that you want to kind of maybe share with the group, also feel free, obviously, to turn on your microphone and ask. It's also very much encouraged, but also feel free to do it here. And then
Yep. Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I also formulated the question on the board, but I'm curious to hear, especially from Christian, like I really see this happening, and in a year we will have this, and then people start to use it in more, let's say, critical ways, which is hopefully the outcome, that you can really use this data in different kind of ways for different use cases. Do you have any like experience from the back, more on the organizational level? I guess these cantons are changing, and on all levels are changing from time to time their platforms. Do you get this normally upfront, the information, or is it always a bit like, ooh, it will be a longer evening tonight, we need to fix this pipeline? What's the impression here, and how strongly do you think you need to get into contact with the different data deliveries to make sure that at least it's somehow graceful if somebody changes the system?
Right now there is actually no process at all to get this information, and even though I have to say that with also be with critical to the open government data side, it's also that happens. Then you have data there, and then people like to improve something, and they change something, and it's not, you don't get this information. So I really hope we also have to find a way to get this information. Yeah, it breaks stuff. I mean, also little things like. Really little things like there's a typo error, there's a date where months and day is changed, because sometimes there are systems which parliamentary services correct this stuff manually. Then there is an error, and then is the issue, how do we handle this error? Does the whole pipeline does not work, or just the affair? it's a problem, and yeah, therefore also it's a motivation for us from Polyp-Monitor, which actually also we then use the data from this kind of new service that to make this kind of information gathering more easier in the short term by just getting an announcement that something is going to change, and hopefully in the long term by having a standard which avoids this kind of problems anyway.
But some experience in the last years, or
it's,
so
for
far
example,
mostly
there
stable?
is actually now it helped working that for example Basel, the government just have changed their website, and here we had help from Fabian, which had been in touch with the open government data people from Basel, saying, there will be a change then next week. So it's already starting.
Okay, at least a week, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good,
Well,
thank you.
I also hope that when it's really becoming a more important interface, that hopefully we'll get notified sooner about any problems, and also more being active communicating is something going to change.
I have another question, but I would like to let other people.
Maybe I can already here go on a little bit like that. So yeah, the idea is that of course I hope we can go on and really present the data we gather right now to the parliament and say, look, this is what you get now, and I hope we can do this or more actively since the project is now open or will be open. Yeah, that's the idea to have getting a change, although we have to be realistic that it's probably not possible in a year to get together with all the parliaments. But there is indeed an aspiration to get in touch.
Cool. Just maybe in lieu of the time, we can circle back to the question if you have time at the end, but I would just like to move to the next one. All good. So just so we'd like to do just a little exercise with you. Some already started. Which is called a pre-mortem. So not the post-mortem, but pre-mortem. Maybe just if you may imagine in 1 year, you would just imagine that this project is like really failed spectacularly. What do you think of what would have gone wrong? Like what went wrong? What could be the reason for that? So feel free to shoot, put everything in there, like the most critical, the most pessimistic view you have of the whole thing. We're very happy to try to incorporate that also and think of it during the project. So yeah, so already a couple of good points. So long-term funding, very big topic, obviously. Too ambitious, yeah, also very helpful feedback.
This one.
Maybe while people are writing, do we want to take another question from the board, Christian, like from the first page? Maybe something we can answer easily, or you can answer easily. Maybe do you need testers for the API? So yes, definitely. We will go. That will be the next question then also, or like the question after this.
Oh, yeah, okay, the archive thing. This is a funny thing. Actually, this is also a huge issue, especially, for example, with consultation. Sometimes they disappear when the consultation has closed. We have been going so far to go on and really get the data back from Time Wayback Machine. There's also the topic going on. Actually, there are in Switzerland, the National Library are saving snapshots of the canton data, but somehow I tested that myself recently. This data is not available from the public, so they store the data from the websites, and it's not, you cannot go to the library and get the data back from there. But this is also an issue I like to address?
Get into touch with me regarding that
Okay.
specific problem. But on the archive stuff, another like more detailed question, what do you think is the policy? So you will try to keep everything online, even if it's gone from the local websites, or
It's difficult.
what's your idea here?
I probably we have the idea that we probably will not, well, not really archive the data. I think we like rather go with what is there, because we want to have the latest changes from the parliament. So this would be overwritten. We have to see if we can implement for some tables some kind of changes. I think, for example, for the interests, that would be interesting, because some parliaments, if the member is off, data is lost. So at least we will have the last data, which I think is the common practice. Or yeah, some parliament just say, okay, this is now, make a freeze, and this is the data from the last they have been active. We haven't really decided on how to go on. Probably it is difficult, but I mean, you don't see us as our archiving institution. So probably go for more usable data, accurate data, and yeah, archiving is something, yeah, for the future.
All right. Thank you also for that question. Maybe let's move to the next question. So that one would really be like go a bit more into the nitty-gritty. Like, what are your requirements for the data? So what kind of data do you use or do you need for your project or for your work or for your hobby project or whatever it is? What's your requirement to the quality of this data? So we already also see a couple of post-its here, which are also already very helpful. Feel free to to drop more, to add more here, and then also maybe just in lieu of the time, the next slide would really be about contribution. So we are, as Christian has said, there's kind of like a core team that's also kind of like responsible in that sense to deliver this also, but we are obviously very eager to get your help, your contributions. So if you think, or if you're interested to contributing somewhere in this process, you see kind of like the on that slide. If you could go to the next one, Christian, exactly. So here you can basically add if you're interested in supporting somewhere along this journey. So which questions are you interested in? You can just take a post-it and add it somewhere. Also, if you're interested in contributing at multiple kind of like to multiple packages or work packages, please feel free to do so. Please add your first and your last name so we just can identify you. Also, this is nothing binding in that sense. So if you if you're just we're not gonna end up in front of your door and tell you, hey, now you have to kind of implement this and that. But it's more like, okay, what are you interested in contributing to? And then we would really loop you in at that point specifically and say, hey, is this still accurate? Do you want to contribute here? And this is the role you can play. Yes. So that's really that. Can also create new post-its with, I think the shortcut is N, just pressing the letter N as in Nancy. And then add your name somewhere in the journey. Again, the project will also be documented and tracked on the GitLab repository. So you will at any time be able to kind of see, okay, this is where it stands. This is what's currently on. But we're obviously very much looking forward to your input, your feedback, your contributions. Yes, and then just as a very last question, this is more a question of how do you want to stay up to date, because we're also not sure here yet. So what's needed? So we're going to do like most of the communication or of the information. Again, it's all going to be on the GitLab, but we're also thinking about, okay, what's kind of like what other communication channels in that sense do we need? And then the question is kind of, okay, should it be something more like one-to-many or more one-sided, so to say? So a newsletter, maybe or a mailing list, which is something, I guess, in between, but it's, I would say, also probably more one-sided, where we just give you updates via email. Or do you think, or would you be interested in kind of something more like forum, Slack, Mattermost, like, where it's more about like many-to-many communications? Again, then also, I think all the specific tracks, for example, also the standardization process would have its own kind of like channels that are not kind of like owned by us in any sense, right? But this is more about kind of the API, I would say. Okay, yes, and then you can vote with a bottom up, but with a thumb up. You can vote for one of the two options. Yes, very cool. I think, yeah, feel free to add here also if there's more, anything here regarding the requirements for the data you don't see on the board yet. Feel free to add it also at a later point. Yes, and with that said, I think this just leaves us at kind of letting you know the next steps or the next dates. I think you can see my screen. Hope so, at least. Yes. Sorry. Yes, you can.
I think it's fine if I share it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So next one is going to be the Open Data Beer, one of our project collaborators. I'm not even sure if who's presenting, but I guess maybe Fabian or Nico of Democratis are going to present their tool. So it's a kind of like a consultation procedure tool at the Open Data Beer in Basel. Christian, you're going to be there.
Yep.
I guess.
Intend to.
Yes. So if you want to talk to us or give input in person, feel free to hit us up there. Christian, do you want to say something about the next?
Yeah, from our company, we have an evening event after work event called Min Talk. There, Florian and I will present again a little bit the project and go into more details how we're going to do that. Feel free to invite it. After that, there's also a small apero. And we like to continue this kind of exchange, giving you project updates regularly in this kind of meetings. Hopefully next November. We still have to find the date on that, but it's the idea.
Yes. Very cool. Yeah, with that said, we would still have 5 minutes left, but I think we don't need them in that sense. We will take everything all the questions you have, all the inputs you gave us, take them and work with them. Thank you so much for all the inputs, and very eager to go on this journey with all of you.
Cool, danke vielmals, Christian und Florin. Super.
Danke, Jonas.
Danke für euren Input.
Bis am Open Data Bier. Tschüss zusammen.
Yes. All right. Ciao zusammen. Bye bye. Au revoir.
Merci.
Bye.
Merci Dennis also. Ciao,
Ja.
ciao.
Ciao. Merci. Merci, Christian.